Chillin'. You have anything you want to say to the people?
A single moment can define an entire era. For a game like Super Smash Bros. Melee, moments like these are scattered all throughout its long history. From clutch comebacks to unforgettable pop-offs, there's no shortage of legendary stories in Melee lore. But it's rare for a moment to encapsulate so much of the ethos from which it came. One of the funniest moments that doesn't just redefine the competitive status quo, but also demonstrates why this 20-year-old game is still alive, the reason people keep coming back, the heart of a community, and the spirit of a competitor. Today, I'd like to take you to that moment. This is the story of a man who faced impossible odds, who pushed on when there was no turning back. This is the story of what happens when you have nothing left to lose. This is the story of the greatest money match of all time. This is William Hjelte, better known as Leffen. He's a professional Super Smash Bros. Melee player from Sweden, and in 2014 he was the second best player in Europe behind Armada. This was during the era of the Five Gods, a period of time when the game was dominated by 5 players. If any of these 5 entered a tournament, one of them would win. There was a distinct gap in skill between the gods and the rest, so much so that while the Pantheon battled it out for the title of best in the world, everyone else was just fighting for 6th. Running into a god in bracket was usually a death sentence. Beating just one god ever would be a remarkable achievement to have on your resume. Beating more than one would be beyond impressive. But to beat all 5? That was unheard of. In 2014, Leffen set out to become the God Slayer. By then, he had been playing Melee for many years prior, but he didn't really start rising through the ranks till he returned from his year-long ban. Ah, that's right. Leffen was banned for a year in 2013 for his toxic behavior. Only in Europe, though, he could still travel to America to compete, which he did. All the reasons for his ban were neatly wrapped up in a file known only as evidence.zip. We don't need to worry about the specifics of what he may or may not have done, but what's important to recognize is that Leffen is an ego-driven antagonistic hothead, especially at the time. Comparisons to Gary Oak were as frequent as they were apt.
I think Palatown deserves at least one trainer who's not a total embarrassment.
If you dropped a hot take on Twitter, you wouldn't be too surprised to see Leffen flame you for it, all while dropping even hotter takes of his own. When you're a no-name shitter being an asshole to random people, your words tend to be ignored, or at least drowned out in the sea of malicious discourse. But when you're a noted top professional being an asshole, things go a bit differently. You won't be ignored, your voice is too big. People have no choice but to listen to your shitty opinions, libel, and insults. And if you're loud enough, people will fight back. This is Kashan Khan, better known as Chillin' Dude 829. Cut him some slack, he made that before people knew how to make good tags. When it comes to old school legends, Chillin' is as old school as it gets, having attended tournaments since the inception of the competitive scene circa 2002. He had been an active player for 10 years, yet here he was getting shit from Leffen for having just been signed to Team Curse. But hang on, why did he just get signed to a high-profile North American esports organization? Well, Chillin' getting signed was part of this first wave of Tier 1 esports contracts coming off the backbone of the Smash Bros. Documentary, Samox's iconic series released in 2013. This documentary gained a lot of traction. People resonated with the players' stories and were drawn into the infectious energy of a niche community. Thanks to that, as well as Melee's triumphant inclusion at EVO 2013, there were more new eyes on Melee than ever before. This attracted the attention of some major esports organizations. They saw an opportunity to get in early, for cheap, on a growing but established and proven game. But who do you sign? Cloud9 signed Mango, one of the 5 gods and the #1 player at the time. Evil Geniuses signed PPMD, another god, but Team Liquid took a different approach. They looked to the documentary for inspiration, signing Ken and Korean DJ. Team Curse had a similar idea when they signed Hungrybox and Chillin' Dude. Hungrybox is one of the gods, but Ken, Korean DJ, and Chillin' Dude were not top players at the time. They were, however, all heavily featured in the documentary. Leffen had a problem with this. Why would teams sign people who were good instead of someone like him, who was gunning for 6th best in the world and beyond? Well, from my perspective, I think it was just because people knew who Chillin' Dude was, in part thanks to the documentary. Leffen was only recently getting widespread recognition as a player. I think Team Liquid and Team Curse were simply ahead of their time with wanting to sign someone who was more of an influencer rather than just a top player. But still, for someone who had landed one of the best contracts in the scene's history up to that point, Chillin' was not a particularly strong player. His crowning achievement was being the first person to take a set off of Ken, the old-school King of Smash, back in 2004. He was a top 10 player in that time period, and also won a good number of doubles tournaments with Azen and Chudat. Fast forward 10 years and his results have regressed. They're not bad by any means. Getting 9th at EVO or even just 33rd at Apex still puts you among the best players in the world, but compared to Leffen's results, they just don't add up. For the end-year rankings, Leffen achieved demigod status with 6th best in the world, while Chillin' was all the way down at 26th. Again, a highly impressive achievement. Men would kill to be 26th in the world. People can grind for years and never crack the top 100. It's just that the gap here is much bigger than it seems. Like tennis, like chess, like really any competition, skill in Melee is exponential. The best player in the world is practically guaranteed to beat anyone outside the top 10, but a top 10 player would destroy someone in the top 50, who would destroy someone outside the top 100. And it's those people who would wipe the floor with me, someone who would beat anyone who hasn't touched a controller. The idea that Leffen and Chillin' were on a level playing field was laughable. If the two were to meet in bracket, you could assume Leffen to win that at least 9 times out of 10. And let's not forget, Leffen was still on his warpath to bring Ragnarok to the Pantheon. At this point in the timeline, he had already taken sets off of Hungrybox, PPMD, and Armada, with just 2 to go. So, Leffen had a point. That's kind of the thing with Leffen. He's a smart, surprisingly rational guy, so when he goes off on a long Twitter rant, there's usually something of value in there. But he wraps it in such a vile package that any nuance is quickly lost and tact is nowhere to be found. People see these tweets and all they can think is, wow, this guy's being a huge asshole to Chillin' Dude for no reason. And they're right, but they don't understand why. Thousands of people sharing and talking about this beef have no idea who Leffen is or what it means to be top 10 in the world. To them, he's a nobody, because he wasn't in the documentary. Oh, I've never heard of Leffen until this tweet, and his first impression was revolting, therefore he must be shit. Meanwhile, Chillin' is a legend. He beat Ken. He's been playing for a decade. He tied Leffen at EVO. He's among the most valued and beloved members of the community. He's gonna sit back and let this piece of shit disrespect him? No. Chillin' had no choice but to be the hero for the people. When you get into an argument, what do? You could throw words endlessly, sling insults, talk it out like adults, maybe a physical altercation. But in the world of fighting games, in the world of Melee, there is another way. You pull out your wallet, agree to an amount, so there's stakes, and you go to the sticks. A money match, where there's no room for ego, or luck, or good faith discussion. It's just you giving everything you got to prove you're better than the guy sitting next to you. And so Chillin' does what any prideful smasher would in his spot, and challenges Leffen to a money match at the next Apex. But Leffen isn't interested in low friendly stakes, so Chillin' ups it. $100, which frankly didn't matter, and also, the loser could no longer use White Fox. Leffen and Chillin' both play Fox, generally considered the best character in the game. But they also both play White Fox, or Default or Vanilla Fox. In Melee, the color you pick is part of your identity as a player. It's often said that your color says a lot about your playstyle, and players can be identified just by the color and a gameplay clip. For example, red foxes are stereotypically aggressive, while green foxes are typically more defensive. So, when Chillin puts up his color, he's not just throwing in a little extra cherry on top of the money. He's betting a part of himself. Leffen accepts without hesitation. First to 5 wins. The community is hyped for this match. Someone, finally, is standing up to Leffen's toxic bullshit. And although the general consensus is that Leffen is the favorite to win, everyone is rooting for Chillin. Leffen needs to be humbled. Someone's gotta make him just shut the fuck up. And Chillin was the guy to do it.
Like, I really wish he would have more of a shot so I could set him up as a goal, and I practiced really hard. I wish that was the case. $100 is not a lot of money. Everyone's just, oh, I hope you beat Leffen. No one's ever saying, oh, I hope you win Apex, Chillin. You wonder why? And it's gonna be 5-0. That's how it's gonna be.
We fast forward 3 months. Liquid and Curse have merged, so Chillin is now signed to Team Liquid. Meanwhile, Leffen earned 1 more stripe when he beat Mango, leaving just 1 god to go, Mewtwo King. With that, the stage is set for Apex. Apex 2015 was an all-time legendary tournament for many, many, many reasons, not the least of which being the Salty Sweet side event. A Salty Sweet was an event where beef was settled on a grand stage, and Apex featured a card full of high-profile show matches with Leffen vs. Chillin Dude slated as the main event. And on January 31st, 2015, the day of the match, Chillin made a chess move and dropped a piece of history that will never be forgotten. You are listening to Respect Your Elders, a diss track aimed squarely at Leffen. This kind of came out of nowhere. There was no build-up, no teaser, and Chillin had never released any kind of music before, let alone a rap. It was unexpected and bizarre and funny, and if you get past the inherent cringe that comes with doing this, you'll find a tightly written breakdown of everything Chillin is fighting for, while also highlighting Leffen's weaknesses. He regularly gets 4-stocked, the worst way to lose. He struggles in the Fox Ditto. He can't even beat Samus, a bad character. Beyond that, he's a rager. He's thrown his controller. He'll take cheap wins whenever he can. It's dishonorable. And despite all the shit talk, he still hasn't won a major tournament. I can't understate the balls Chillin had to post this. Perhaps just for fun, perhaps to hype himself up, perhaps the best way to make something a reality is to believe it to be possible. One thing's for sure, win or lose, this track is cemented in Melee lore. To make yourself so vulnerable and call your shot so brazenly, it oozed a confidence that was nothing if not infectious. If you weren't already on Chillin's side, this wouldn't have changed anything, but if you were on his side, it became so clear. Melee, through its years, through its struggles, has seen countless miracles both in and out of game. Whether it's the fan favorite clutching out one last hit, or a tournament simply being permitted to run, things always turn out right in the end. So much so, people say it's scripted. Leffen has to go down. It doesn't matter how, and it will be ugly, but it has to happen. After a long night of shining, nostalgia, and easy money, Respect Your Elders is played for the Apex crowd as Leffen and Chillin Dude take the stage for their match.
I think this guy talks a lot, and it's about time for him to learn some respect.
Leffen, what do you have to say to Chillin before we start?
I'm sorry. All right, let's just play. I can bother this fraud, and let's move on, all right?
Chillin was called out, so he defended himself. Then, a fire lit inside him, and he went a step further, challenging his aggressor to a duel. The loser forfeits his soul. He trained hard, made a diss track, called his shot, telling the world, I will be the hero for the people. Chillin, now's the time to make your words a reality. Ready? Go! The match starts, and immediately, something's off. Leffen stands still for the first 2 seconds. He doesn't just want to beat Chillin, he wants to embarrass him. In the confusion, Chillin even turns to say something as Leffen begins to attack. But things are looking good, and Chillin cleanly gets the first stock. He's in the lead. He goes back in, nearly takes another easy stock, but Leffen evens it up. And the momentum begins to shift. Leffen takes another stock. Now he's in the lead. He catches Chillin with a monstrous combo and then taunts. While taunting can sometimes be a playful, fun gesture, it's usually taboo in a competitive environment because it communicates a message. In this case, that message is fuck you. After a bit more back and forth, Leffen wins the first game with the JV3. You can think of it as him still having half his health bar. Leffen laughs, but Chillin stays focused. He started the first game on fire, and if he could get back to that state, he's got a real chance here. Game 2 begins, and Chillin gets an open up with a percent lead, and then kills himself. Leffen, the humble sportsman, with a warm smile and a pat on the back, lets Chillin pick one up for free. The next 4 stocks are back and forth, leaving them with 1 fresh stock each. They're hitting each other, and they're hitting each other. High percent. Chillin catches Leffen. He can close this out. He pops off out of his chair, but he dashed too early and whiffed his killing blow. 15 seconds later, Game 2 slips out of Chillin's grasp as Leffen laughs again. This is a first to 5. Chillin still has a lot of room to adjust. He needs to clean up his game plan, ignore Leffen's antics, and start turning this around. Game 3 does not start as promising, with Leffen taking an early lead. But Chillin keeps it close, bringing it to an even 2 stocks, until Leffen calls out his recovery. Game 4 goes about the same. It ends with a Sakurai combo, known for being so bad, it's insulting to even try. Chillin's on the ropes, 1 game away from losing it all. To bring it back from here would require the greatest performance of his entire life. The crowd has its doubts, but in times like these, it doesn't matter what they think. With a deep breath, Chillin selects Final Destination. Within 5 seconds, Leffen starts chain grabbing. He takes the first stock without getting hit. He takes a second, and he's just laughing. Leffen! This is the guy whose game face looks like he's gonna make his eyeballs pop out, and he's laughing! Chillin chokes a recovery, and he's got 1 more stock. It's already over, but Leffen gets cocky. He starts lasering in place. Leffen spent the entire set choosing weird, scrubby options, but it's because of this BM that Chillin is able to claw back. He takes 1 stock, another, he builds up the percent back to even, and they are both 1 hit away from death. He's got to stay calm, find an opening, and he got 5-0'd alright. He was never gonna make a 5-game comeback. He was never gonna win 5 games at all, and whether or not he would even take 1 was, frankly, up to a coin toss. We witnessed a murder. A surgical, unapologetic dismantling of a player that never had a chance. Tens of thousands watching live saw the mystical aura of this warrior, this hero, evaporate. How is that possible? This wasn't supposed to happen. Chillin's the good guy. He was fighting for us. And yet, he was reduced to nothing.
Leffen, do you have anything to say?
Is there anything to say? Is there really? Respect your elders!
Leffen taught everyone a hard lesson. That in this reality, you can't change an outcome just by believing hard enough. And many others learned that there's a lot more to Melee beneath the surface, and people really can be that much better than you. Although the stock count looked respectable, Leffen was clearly not trying his hardest, instead focusing on dealing as much psychological damage as possible, which was effective. I've never seen such a raw display of emotion that wasn't a celebration or sadness. Just dread. Dread for everything that had happened and everything that was still yet to come. This is a man who realized he went too far. Deep down, Chillin knew he was going to have a hard time. and probably lose. But he never expected it to go like that. And now he has to face the people, flustered, humiliated, and exhausted, to take on such a heavy responsibility while not being humble, talking shit, setting the terms, writing, performing, and making a music video for a diss track about how bad Leffen's gonna lose. For it to turn out so decisive, what do? What can you possibly say after all of that?
Chillin'. You have anything you want to say to the people?
Might be.
After a decade, it's rare for a new phrase to enter Melee's lexicon, but those 3 letters echo through the minds of players and viewers to this day. Aside from all the memes it inspired, it provided a window into the spirit of a competitor who just got his ass beat. There was no cheating, no one got lucky, there's no Johns, no excuses to exonerate your play. You just lost. So you take it on the chin and you move on.
At the time, I did not know what the fuck was happening. And all this, and as this song was played, and I slowly realized what was going on, I felt for like a flicker, I was like, Chill's gonna win. If there's one thing,
That's the power of the music.
If there's one thing that changes the whole fucking script, flips the whole fucking script, it's this fucking rap song.
I said at the beginning of the video that a single moment can define an entire era. For me, this is that moment. No one knew it at the time, but in my opinion, the era of the 5 gods ended that day. On Sunday, Leffen finally beat Mewtwo King, officially crowning him as the God Slayer, the first to take down all 5. He didn't win the tournament, but he did very well. After the money match to defend Chillin's honor, Mango jumped on stage and challenged Leffen to $1,000 if they met in bracket. They did, and Leffen won that too. A few months later, he won his first major tournament, even had a bit of a streak, occasionally making an argument for being the best in the world. Also, the money match played a large role in him getting signed to TSM, a Tier 1 North American esports organization. To this day, Leffen remains a top 10 player. Chillin took a different path. He would still enter the occasional tournament, but his focus shifted towards streaming, commentary, and being a renowned figurehead in the community. He also continued his rap career, releasing several more diss tracks over the years, even performing Respect Your Elders live and starting a trend of others writing diss tracks of their own. But nothing will ever top the original. To inspire hope, like it's the plot of a movie or an anime. Chillin lost because this is the real world. And it's for that same reason that times have changed. Leffen has mellowed out over the years, becoming someone who's now worth respecting. He and Chillin have since made amends. He regranted Chillin's right to use White Fox and even tried his hand at rapping the diss track. And while he's still got hot takes for days, he's no longer the evil villain of the scene, a title he never wanted, but one he accepted and embraced.
Don't you go find another, teach you a lesson and take but my color.
I'm not lawful. Make this pussy. Pussy stop talking.
Apex 2015 was the first Melee tournament I ever watched. I often think about how lucky I am that my introduction to the scene was so colorful. Otherwise, I might not still care 8 years later. The legacy of the 5-0, the MyB, the diss track is born of people who saw something real and exciting. The passion and energy of thousands coming together to play a video game for nothing but pride and community. It's contagious. It has to be, because if it wasn't, the game would have died a very long time ago. In Chillin' we trust.